Hi, this lesson 11-2 is about the circumference of a circle. The circumference is the distance around the circle. It's kind of like perimeter is the distance around like a rectangle. Circumference is the distance around a circle. We just use a special name for it because it's a circle. Pi, we all know as the value 3.14. It actually never ends and never repeats, so it is a irrational number. You cannot really write it as a fraction. Pi is the ratio of the circle's circumference to its diameter. So we take the circumference and we divide it by the diameter. We always get pi. So you can draw any circle you want. Measure all the way around, measure all the way across, divide that, and you'll always get 3.14, blah, blah, blah. You'll always get the number pi. We approximate pi a lot because we obviously can never write down the whole number. So we usually use the decimal 3.14 or the fraction 22/7.
To find a formula for the circumference, solve the equation pi equals c divided by d for c, the circumference. Multiply both sides of the equation by d. C equals pi times d. The diameter is equal to 2 times the radius of a circle. You can write the formula for circumference in terms of the radius. C equals 2 times pi times r.
Okay, so here we have our formula for how to calculate the circumference. If we take pi times the length of the diameter, we'll get the circumference of the circle. Another thing that you can do is do 2 times the radius, which is the same thing as the diameter, times pi. When we write these formulas, we usually write them in this order. So pi times the diameter, or 2 times pi times r. Okay, which tiles describe a circle with a circumference of 3 pi meters or 4 pi meters? Sometimes when we calculate the circumference, we'll find out exactly what it makes, or sometimes we'll just write 3 pi, where we want to take 3 times pi to get the circumference. Okay, well, the circumference is the diameter times pi, or it was 2 times the radius times pi. So let's see, if we get 3 pi, that means the diameter could be 3. Or if we take 2 times the radius times pi, our radius could be 1.5, because 2 times 1.5 is the same as 3 pi. Let's see, for this one, if we want to get 4 pi, that means the diameter could be 4, and we could times it by pi, and that would work. Or we could do 2 times a radius of 2. That would make 4 times pi. Let's double check the couple we left out to make sure they don't work. So if the diameter was 2, that would be 2 times pi, which isn't one of our options. If the radius was 3, that would be 2 times the radius times pi. And that would be 6 times pi, which also is not one of our options. So the ones we left behind really don't work. That's good to check. All right, I want you to try this question on your own. So pause the video and see if you can find the circumference of a circle with a diameter of 4 inches. Play the video when you're done. Okay, on this question, we know that our circumference can be found by doing the diameter times pi, or we can do 2 times the radius times pi. Well, here we're told the diameter is 4 inches, so we're going to focus on using the original formula for circumference. We just have to take 4 times pi. Now, we could actually get out a calculator and multiply 4 times pi, but then we would have to do some rounding because we know pi goes on forever and ever, and we're going to have to round it off at some point. So in some cases, it really does just make sense to leave it as 4 times pi so that we can be very accurate with our answer and not have to round anything. And then later, if someone sees our answer, they know that they would just need to take 4 times the value of pi to get the exact result or an approximated result. If you roll a wheel along the ground, the distance the wheel travels on the ground would be the same as the circumference of the circle. So if you roll the wheel along the ground one full time, it's like you're going to roll around the circle. So rolling the wheel one full time is like finding the circumference of the circle. It rolls across the ground.
Oh, ow! No, ow!
Okay, what is the length of the tire track made by one rotation of the 20-inch wheel? Use 3.14 for pi and round your answer to the nearest tenth. Okay, so if we want to know the length of the tire track made by one rotation, that's like we're going to roll the wheel along the ground, starting here. I'm going to roll it around just one time. So we need to find the circumference of this circle. Well, we know that circumference is the diameter times pi. Or we can use the formula 2 times r times pi, because 2 times the radius is the same as just having a diameter. Well, in this case, you can see the blue line here. 20 inches is marking the whole length across, so 20 inches is our diameter. So we'll go ahead and just use this version of the formula. Now, it does tell us this time to actually approximate a value. So we can round and use 3.14 for pi. So 20 times 3.14. So 62.8. Rounding to the nearest tenth. So that's one decimal place. So we would leave it like this. 62.8 inches is the length all the way around the wheel, or how far this wheel would go along the ground. Okay, you pause the video and try this one. See if you can do it on your own. All right, we know that the circumference of a circle can be found by doing the diameter times pi. Or you can do 2 times the radius times pi. In this case, we're told that the radius is 3.4 meters. So we'll go ahead and use this version of the formula. So we need to take 2 times our radius and times it by pi. It says use 3.14. So we're going to go ahead and round the answer. So 2 times 3.4 times 3.14. 21.352. And this would be in meters. If they asked us to round to the tenths place, we could say 21.4 meters. If they asked us to round to the hundredths place, we could say 21.35 meters. Or if they don't want us to round any more than what we have, we can just leave it as 21.352 meters. Sometimes we approximate pi to the decimal of 3.14, but sometimes we even use a fraction version of pi, which again, it's just an approximation. It's just close to what pi is, of 22/7. So it's like 3 and 1/7 if you write it as a mixed number. So on this one, what is the diameter of a circle with a circumference of 88 feet? Use 22/7 for pi. Okay, so our formula says that circumference equals the diameter times pi. Or we could even use the other version of the formula, 2 times r times pi. Well, in this case, we're talking about a diameter. We want to know the diameter. So let's use this version of the formula. Okay, we're told the circumference is 88. We don't know the diameter. That's what we're looking for. So I'm going to leave that as D. And it says use 22/7 for pi. Well, this is a one-step equation. We see multiplication, so we're going to need to divide on both sides. To work out the math on this problem, you could use the double rainbow trick to divide these fractions quickly. 88 times 7. And 1 times 22. Well, let's get that a little prettier. 6/16 divided by 22 is 28. So we would say that the diameter equals 28. In this problem, we are saying that diameter is 28, and in this problem feet, but it's probably not really, exactly 28 feet, because remember, we were approximating this value for pi. So whenever we do calculations with circles and whenever we use pi, we have to do some rounding. So we're saying it's close to, it's about 28 feet, but it's good enough for our purposes. Okay, I hope this helped you calculate circumference and feel better about this idea.